Welcome. This is Real Estate Matters. I'm your friend Vernon Darby, and we have Mr. Dennis Hickey online. What's on your mind today, my brother?
Vernon, thanks as usual for having me. Today, I want to talk about a matter that is important to householders. In the last 2 weeks, we've had two cancellations of a sale, two properties. You want to know the reason for those cancellations?
Is money?
No, breaches.
Oh
In,
no,
in, in
breaches.
one instance,
Yes,
the owner did the modification
yes.
and did not seek the help of the professionals. And so they built beyond the required distance
Yes.
as required by law,
Mhm.
by the approving authorities. The sale has been taking place for 2 months. By the time the buyer got the surveyor's ID report, we end up with this breach, which, if not corrected, and in some instances, the breaches can't be corrected. So the
Uh-oh.
vendor may not be able to sell the property to anyone but a cash buyer. Now,
But hold on, baby, some. A cash buyer, and when you're paying
yes,
by cash, the law has certain requirements, right?
yes, but if you're buying by cash, you're
Yes,
not required to get a surveyor's ID report.
I
If
see.
you're buying and taking a mortgage, the
Yes.
bank is going to insist on a surveyor's ID report, and the bank will not take the property as collateral because the bank has to put itself in a position where if the loan is defaulted on, then the property
Oh,
has to be sold, and the bank is not starting out with a
yes,
problem.
yes.
Now, there are many instances, and if you talk to a real estate lawyer at some point, I mean, I know I have a little knowledge of some of the things,
Hmm.
you can get the corrections done.
Yes.
Now, they when we talk about cash purchase now, I take it to the other problem. This gentleman bought a property cash without knowing that there were some significant breaches. And so now, having owned the property for a while, he's trying to sell it. We have a buyer, we have a willing buyer, but the survey ID report has come back with a breach.
Oh,
Now,
Lord.
that buyer cannot get the loan with that breach. Now, here, the two errors are one, even if
Yes.
you're buying by cash, get your professionals to tell you whether the property is quite in order. The boundaries are correct. There are no breaches. There are no squatting if you're selling land. And if they're squatting,
Yes.
you need to be armed with the outcome, the proposal to get rid of the squatters to sell a piece of land which is free and clear. And if you're building, please ask the professionals to show you where the layout should be.
But
If you're
Mr. Hickey,
expanding
why
your
should I
property,
ask the professional whether I can save a little money?
but if you don't know, you don't know. And surveyors are trained to interpret the law
Oh,
and using their skills. So when you're going to start a new building,
yes.
you really ought to ask the surveyor to peg out the building for you.
I
And
see.
so when you ask, listen, I started talking about two properties.
Yes.
Another one selling up in Plantation, where somebody is building a development next door and that person has encroached by about 150 square feet.
Whoa,
Now,
yo.
if the person can do two things:
Hmm.
knock down the wall that they have put on, buy the piece that they have encroached on.
Yes.
So you now have to retitle the piece being sold to reflect the reduction. So every day these things face us. And this is a guy, the one in Plantation is a guy who lives abroad and his contractor just went and start building. You must build with your surveyor in tow. The surveyor will tell you where to put the building. He will tell you where to expand that house wherever you're expanding it. Doesn't matter if it's a quad, and you want to expand it, let your surveyor show you. The builders don't always know.
Yeah.
Sometimes if your land is big enough and you're not going too far near the boundary, too close to the boundary, you can read the title, and the title tells you how far away you must be. But especially for those people, especially the ones like in Portmore and Manly Meadows and those places, it's a thin line,
Mhm.
and you need to be aware of what the requirements are, because when you've spent all that money and when you're ready to sell or to take out a mortgage on your property, get some equity,
Mhm.
and the survey ID is requested, you're going to have some problems.
This is
I'm
what you say.
asking your listeners to always bear the cost of getting your professionals involved or bear the consequences later.
Listen, Mr. Hickey, I am a big man for you. Be sure when you were born, you didn't hear these sayings. But for me was a little boy, me always hear say, short cut, draw blood, and long
Yes.
cut, draw sweat.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I apparently don't teach the young people these things. So because all they think about is a shortcut. So you are giving
Absolutely.
me perfect examples of those who try to
Yes.
do things the shortcut way
Right.
and they end up with a nasty cut,
Absolutely.
bleeding profusely, which can only be stopped when you have to probably lose millions of dollars, when I'm sure the professionals would not have cost that amount of money. Those who have
Absolutely.
ears to hear, let them
Let
hear,
them
my
hear.
brother.
So
Tell me what.
the buyer beware concept requires that you do what's necessary to do the due diligence.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
This is a story. By the way, I'm sure the story, and don't even dare identify the person because I know it's close to you. In a place very close to you, there was a gentleman, a man of the cloth, who got a
Yes.
piece of land near to Christiana.
Right.
It was a preacher for many years, and he decided in his old age he was going to put up a big mansion, a massive
Uh,
mansion. And
yes.
it so happened that because he's a contractor, he has done everything on his own. He came back from America and he just did his thing. Only to discover, only to discover that after he had put up that mansion, that the mansion, a gentleman just appeared out of nowhere to say, "Oh, hey, sir, your mansion, the part of your mansion, the my land, sir."
Absolutely.
So he said to him, "All right, no problem, and I have enough money, I can pay for it." The man said, "No, sir, me no want no money on my land, me want." And you know what? He had to knock down that mansion. And he,
Well, and I don't know that that always happens, because if you go to court, it becomes a civil matter.
yes.
And if you go to court, the court is likely to rule in a manner of dispensing justice. And
But
so
hear
the
the joke
cost,
now. He did everything on his own, as far as I know, when it come to all the plans and so on being submitted.
yeah, man.
That was not
Right.
done, so he lost
All
everything.
right. He would have built without approval.
Yes, yes,
Yes. But sometimes when you have that kind of encroachment,
yes, yes.
the reasonableness can lead you to, like the one in Plantation, we're trying to get the encroacher to buy the piece on which they're encroached.
Uh-huh.
But when you go to do your subdivision, we have one right now dealing with the Mandeville, same issue. It happens all the time.
Yes.
And there has to be sometimes some kind of compromise.
Hmm.
And sometimes the best way is for the encroacher to purchase what is encroached, or purchase the whole land at market value.
Okay.
Um, and so it comes down to negotiation. And if the building plans are approved,
Hmm.
perhaps the court may rule that the best option is the purchase of the the section on which you have taken over inadvertently. But to save those things, just go and get the surveyor to come and show you where to put your addition, where to
Hmm.
build the house. And I say if it's a large plot of land, you probably can read the title and know that once you're on the inside of that measurement, you're good.
Hmm.
But it suits you to get the professionals involved because it comes back to haunt you. So this gentleman in Manly Meadows needs this money badly and could very well end up without a sale. Could very well end up without being able to sell it to anybody but somebody who comes along with cash. So
And
you see
hold on,
how
and
that's
if the
costly.
person comes along with cash, then he would probably either he'll be like buying pussy in a bag.
He would be. He could buy it with the knowledge as encroach, and he may
Yeah,
say, hey, "Listen, we're not going to sell this. We want to live there." But you never know. If he dies and leave it in a will to his children, they're going to have the problem. So you're really just kicking the ball down the road, kicking the
down the
can down the
road. So I'm trying to think how do you get around it? And based on what you're telling me as an experienced man, it is almost impossible. The way
road.
to deal with
An expensive investment. You need to be guided by the professionals. There are some encroachment in Portmore
yes,
where the parish council, there are systems that the parish council can allow you
yes.
to regularize
Hmm.
if it's not significant. Um, the one in Manly Meadows, for example, the encroachment is on the walkway, which is the parish council's walkway. And we're now being told that the parish council can facilitate a lease of the encroached area, but with some provision for it to pay up some back lease.
But if it's a
But that lease,
walkway, then
well,
that will pose
they
a
haven't taken
problem.
all of it. You haven't taken all of it. It's still a walkway. But
Okay,
so the encroachment is 1.2 feet. So
okay.
the parish council, rather than tell you to knock down a building that may impact three other buildings, because you know
Yes,
the
yeah.
quads in Manly Meadows,
Right,
they
right.
will allow you to lease that section of which you're encroached. And then you have to structure it in a way that the lease moves with the property. So
Yes.
if you buy it now
Hmm.
and you're allowed to keep it, then that lease agreement moves from the person now buying it, to the person to whom they're going to sell it to. It
Yes.
has to be structured that way that it stays with the property for the life of the property.
Hmm.
So, and that again is another total discussion because there are many ways to solve some breaches. But there are some that are just impossible to be solved because the parish council is not going to approve it
To bed. And the problem it takes is better just do it the right way.
the right
You
way at the
mentioned
start.
about the pathway. I do hope there are some things that people do, and that the government also has done it in the past. These pathways, or you build the house in such a way that when you open your front door, you're looking into the man's living room or the woman's living room. We need to stop it. We need to get our sociologists involved and all those involved in environmental things and understand human behavior and understand that you check up posts by one another. So that it ends up with confusion and contention and you're actually in somebody's space. Because even when you
The
have an
pro-
apartment, it's done in such a
yeah.
way so that you have your own area to walk, you're not really in somebody's face. I hope.
Not all of them are built that way. Some are built like school compound where everybody have to walk down one passage. But
Oh, I don't like that either.
but
Mhm.
the problem we have in Jamaica
Yes.
is land scarcity in some areas. Because land is not scarce. The government own a lot.
Mhm.
And the scarcity has led to the concentration of buildings in one area.
Yes.
And so that's how you end up with some
Mhm.
houses. In trying to meet the demand for housing, you build houses close, and so people now have to be guarded, blocking out their windows and putting screen over their doors and those things.
But I'm saying
And
that the
and so
harm that is done is far
yes,
greater because when people can't get along, it is far greater than just trying to make space. It's like when you have a
well,
car park, you make them so narrow that every time you're driving and another car drives in and they open the door, blup, you're
well
damaging the person's
the
car.
problem in Jamaica is that because of land, I don't know for what reason, but I believe it's because of land scarcity. We do the parking spaces 8 by 11.
Yes.
And in the US, because they have so much land, they do 9 by 11.
But guess what?
So
I
they
would
get an
say,
extra foot wide. But if you go into some places now where they're building like apartments and some plaza, if they start doing 9 by 11 down here, they're going to reduce the amount of parking spots.
yes. And
So
the way,
so
the way to get around it, Dennis, is to
yeah.
go underground or go on top. you
The
know,
cost
of the
of going
park.
underground, makes the property the cost significantly higher. So some developers won't do it because of the margins. We have one garage which you can park on the top. I hear that the last time a man went up there and his car can't come down, they have not used it again. Um, but
Really?
there are
I
that's on
hear you.
Lady Musgrave. But you do have
Yes,
technology.
to do that.
The
Yes, yes,
question is how costly that technology is
yes.
to be able to park elevator
Guess what? I
style.
have to ask you to run right now. But you see, I love to argue with you, know. But every time I try to argue, that's why I listen. That's why I must go to the professional. They say, I argue with Dennis. Every time I argue with him, but I love to argue. He come with a point better than mine because he has the experience. So, honestly, go ask me and go ask your friend next door. You see, and then tell no foolishness you wonder. Remember, I tell you, shortcut, draw blood, long cut,
Long
draw
run,
sweat.
draw
What
sweat.
sweet you, we sour you.
And so are you.
My friend, just tell us how we can find you and your
I am
company.
always available on my cell phone, 876-999. That's 999-4439. That's the easiest way. And then I can point you to website and Instagram and those things.
Right. Thank you very much, my friend. You have a wonderful day. And I'm still thinking how I can get around the system. Remember, I'm a Jamaican, you know. So if we can get around the system, we have to think and plan. So while you talk your talk, there are many people who are still finding a way to get around the system. It's just
There are
amazing.
some legitimate and legal ways to avoid, to get corrections done.
Yes.
But the best thing to do is to avoid the problem.
Do it the right way. That is Hickey, my friend. You have a wonderful day.
Hold me back.